லிங்க் உங்களால இப்ப எடுத்து எனக்கு தர முடியுமா?
Okay, sorry for the inconvenience. We'll start once again. I will give a short introduction about all the domains once again. Okay, today we just going to discuss about deep learning. Okay, today we just going to discuss about deep learning and generative AI. Okay, wow. Before getting to the deep learning and generative AI, we need to know about machine learning. We need to know about AI and what subdomains present in that AI. Okay, first of all, what is in the AI? AI is an applying a human intelligence on the machine and made the machine to act like a human. That was an AI. And AI is not a single domain. It is a combination of machine learning, deep learning, data science, and NLP, and also having some domains like data analytics. These also having, but these four are most important domains. Okay, first we will start with machine learning. Machine learning, in the word, is having a meaning. Machine learning, machine going to learn something. Machine going to learn something. how machine learn, how we all are learn. This is a laptop, this is a mobile, how we all are learn. If anyone pass us information or else feed information, likewise we need to give information for the machine also. By passing information, it can't identify, it need to analyze the information. For that purpose, we will use the algorithm. Machine will train the data with the help of an algorithm. That is an actual explanation for machine learning. And then deep learning. In the machine learning, we face some issues like it can't able to handle a large amount of data, that means vast amount of data, and not able to handle that text, videos, audios, images, these and all. So we move on to deep learning. Deep learning uses neural networks. That is an advanced of algorithms. It will use to handle images, videos, and audios, everything. Why we called it as a neural network means it having a structure of brain neurons, that both neurons having a similar structure. So we said this as a neural network. Okay. Okay, and then AI having some life cycle, that means some modules. Okay, wow. First modules was data collection. In this module, we just collect the data from different sources based upon our project. If in case we going to do any medical related project, means we will collect all the medical data, likewise patient medical history and age details and these and all. After next module was pre-processing, data cleaning, feature extraction. In this pre-processing, we just clean the pre-process data. That means remove the unwanted columns, fill the null values by understanding their mean value. These and all happens in this pre-processing. And then data cleaning. Some columns are no needed for our project, likewise name, address, these and all not used. Based upon the name, we are not going to analyze anything. So we will remove that all the unwanted columns in this data cleaning process. After that, feature extraction. In this feature extraction, three process takes place. One was word into numerical format, and after that X and Y split, and then train and test process. In that word and numerical conversion, we use NLP concept. NLP means natural language processing. This found a bridge between a human and a computer, because we all are know only a normal human language, and machine know only a numerical language, machine language, zeros and ones, or else numerical language. What the purpose of NLP means, it just converted human language into a machinery language, again convert return back that machinery language into a human language, human normal language. Nearly we having nearly I think 7,000 languages, but most popularly we using 7 languages for this natural language processing. Okay, by using the NLP, we just converted word into numerical format, and then we need to understand the known column and target column, which is our X value and which is our Y value. Based upon the which data we going to predict our target columns, that we need to fix here only. After that, test and train split. We need to split the data set into two parts. One was for training purpose and another one was testing purpose. We will give all the trained data into a model and then check the accuracy by using a testing value. These are the process happens in this feature extraction, and then model training and validation. In the model training, we need to select a model. Which type of model we going to use. For a machine learning means we will use models like algorithms. In the algorithm, we having 3 types of algorithm: supervised, unsupervised, reinforcement. And inside supervised, we having regression and classification. Inside unsupervised, we having clustering algorithm. These are some types of algorithm. Likewise, in deep learning also having certain types like ANN, RNN, CNN. These are some types. Here only we going to choose an algorithm and we need to test that algorithm. Test the algorithm, we need to check the accuracy of an algorithm, whether the prediction value is good or not. After that, after checking that prediction value, we need to deploy that model into for further process. We need to deploy that into any other online sources, or else we deploy into any other framework. These and all next process. After that, maintenance and improvement. And this process was cyclic until we get a good accuracy. I think you may all understand. Okay. These are all the types of machine learning algorithm: supervised, unsupervised, semi-supervised, and reinforcement. Supervised, semi-supervised is not a major type, but it is a combination of unsupervised and reinforcement. Supervised means label data. we will predict a data with its name. Likewise, I have a name like apple, banana means by name I will train the data. Unsupervised means I doesn't have a name label. By using a features, by using a process, I will train the data. Reinforcement means learn from the past experience. If in case you've done any mistake in the past means you will correct in the future. No. Likewise, based upon the past, it will train the data by like a feedback analysis. Okay, these are all some information about machine learning. So we directly move on to deep learning. This is enough for machine learning. Okay, next we move on to deep learning. Deep learning is a subset of AI and ML, and it is a powerful comparing to any other technology. Why we say it as a neural network means it uses a structure of brain neurons. That also I already said. Okay, wow. How it performs means first we need to pass the input data. We need to pass any input data like images, audios, videos, anything. We can pass the input data, and the input data is split up into chunk by chunk, and then it will add some weightage value. The input adds some weightage, and it need to pass into a bias function. In this bias function, it will add all the input values and weightage values, and then add one summation function. That means it will add one. This is because of non getting the negative value. After that, it will move on to activation function. It is used to make decision of that neural networks, whether it need to pass the data into various neural networks, or else it need to stop the processing it in here or not. It will do the process. After that, output layer. In that output layer, we will check the output data. Okay. Neurons are the neural networks are divided into three types. One was an input layer, hidden layer, and then an output layer. Input layer is used to pass the data, pass the input data, and these are multi hidden layer is used to process the data. There was a single hidden layer and also multiple hidden layer. What is the difference between means? We use multiple hidden layer means it just analyze the data well. After that, output layer. This output layer is used to get a final output from that processed data. And deep learning is mainly used to process the complex task. Okay. It having two types. One was an this neural network having an two types. One was an forward propagation, and another one was backward propagation. This wasn't forward propagation. Input data passed into a hidden layer, and then it passed into the output layer. This wasn't forward propagation. If we here we having one optimizer. Optimizer nothing but it is used to check predicted output and actual output. In the output layer, it will present in here. It wasn't forward propagation. If in case the actual output and the predicted output was different means we will do backward propagation. That means we will add some weightages, like minimum amount of weightages. It's like 0.01. Likewise, we will add minimum amount of weightages, and we will do that backward propagation until we get this process was cyclic until we get a proper output. And then we having types of neural networks: ANN, CNN, RNN. These are all three types of neural networks, and also we will use transformers. Okay, ANN means artificial neural networks used to handle the tabular data. That means if in case we having a Excel data means we will handle by using a neural network. It was a simple neural network, and it having only a minimum advantages. And then CNN means conventional neural network. It is used to handle the images and videos, these and all. After that, RNN, recurrent neural network, used to handle it. We can by using RNN, we can handle text, audios, videos, everything. Sorry, videos we use CNN. For audios and text files, we using RNN. And then transformer. Transformer is a process of multiprocessing. We can do multiple processes at the same time. This transformer is mainly used in the generative AI, that we will discuss in generative AI. Okay, we will see some programming explanation of ANN, RNN, and CNN. Okay, first we will start with ANN. Okay, for ANN, I'm going to use one data set that was pre-inbuilt data set that was provided by the scikit-learn. From the scikit-learn, I just importing load iris data set. In the load iris data set, what it having means by based upon that petal length, petal width, and sepal length, sepal width, we will predict a flower. What the flower is. Okay, next from that model selection, scikit-learn. Scikit-learn is one of the important library in machine learning and Python. It is a container used to contain all the feature extraction process, models, all the algorithms. These and all contained within this scikit-learn. And then Keras model. This Keras model is used in deep learning to formatting all the layers. Okay, from the pre-processing, I just importing standard scalar. The standard scalar is used to understand the feature information present in that data set. That means a difference between the data set, what is a combination of the data set, everything identified by using this standard scalar module only. After that, sequential. The sequential is used to initialize all the layers. After the dense layer, the work of dense layer is to carry the information from one node and pass the information to the another node. After that, optimizer. In this only I said optimizer. It will check the predicted output and actual output. Whether it is not same means it will do the backward propagation. And I created one variable in a name of iris, and then I pass the data set imported from that scikit-learn. And then from I created two variables x and y that I already said, x and y splitting and test and train splitting that I discussed. Okay, for the x value I just store only the iris data. For that y value I just loading the target column. I just created the target column as binary value. Target 0 means that is a one value, and 1 2 means that was another value. Okay, what the load iris contain means okay, this is a load iris data set. It contains sepal length, sepal width, petal length, petal width with their flower name. This was a data which having inside that load iris data set. This is the actual data set present in that load iris. This data set only I am going to use. Okay, for the x value I just fitted only that data. What is my data means? It just only having these values: sepal length, sepal width, and petal length, petal length. And that for y value I just loaded only a target column, whether like a 0 and 0 1 2, likewise I just loaded only the target column. And then I splitting the data set into two parts. One was training and another one was testing. For testing purpose I used 0.2%. That means 20% I used for testing, and the balance 80% I used for training purpose. After I applying standard scalar in testing and training. Why means you need to understand the difference of one column and another column, and used to understand the feature information from that. And then I used transform data. I just transforming the data into xtrain. Here I used a fit transform. Here I used only a normal transform. What is the difference between fit transform and normal transform means? Fit transform used to learn something. It will learn something and then transform the data into xtrain process. This normal transform means it just only a transform data. That means it just only a push the data to that variable. Why I doesn't using fit transform for xtrain x test means because x test I am not going to learn anything from x test, because I am going to give a input of xtrain only to that algorithm. So I doesn't make use of this x test. So I only applying standard scalar. Then I am going to use neural networks. First I initialize the neural network layer, and as a first layer I using 6 nodes. That means 6 neurons will create in the first node as an input layer, and the input layer pass the data, and activation function I use ReLU. ReLU means relational linear unit that will process the data to various nodes, like exactly what I need to say means that will point the data like a x and y value. It just understand the x and y value and plot the data means that was ReLU. Sigmoid is like a classification. It will predict these are this type. It will predict a value inside a classes. The sigmoid will predict like a yes or no type. As a hidden layer, I am using 6 nodes. That means 6 units, 6 nodes. As a first layer, it having 6 neurons, and the next layer I having 6 neurons, and then as a output layer I having only 1 neurons, because I am going to predict I having two classification only, yes or no type only. So I used a sigmoid layer, sorry, sigmoid activation function, and then I applying optimizer. This optimizer will check the predicted output and the actual output. And as a loss function I using binary cross entropy, because I am using as a binary value. I am using Adam optimizer, and this is my layer information. I using 6 nodes, and 6 nodes as a hidden layer and 1 node for output layer. And now I am going to fit my data with that algorithm. I loaded all the algorithm properties in a variable name model, and then by using a fit syntax I fitted all the imported data, that 80% of data. Before I splitted the data into two parts, one is for training and another one for testing. I just loaded that training data here, that 80% of data, and I said epoch. Epoch means how many times you need to read the data set. Here it will increase the accuracy. We increase more epoches means it will increase the accuracy. 66, 68. There was an issue with data set. Okay. And then batch size. Batches means how many batch I need to split that. And validation. For testing purpose, how much I need to use. 0.2. That means 20% of data I used for testing and the balance I used for training. And this is the prediction model. I just finally I just check that test the value. This is the process of ANN. It was also similar to RNN. I am going to do same process in RNN, relational linear unit. In the RNN also we will apply text values also, using load arrays data set, and splitting x and y split, and splitting test and train split, and applying standard scalar in that xtend and xtest. It was like a reshaping, and initializing the model, and applying a Adam optimizer, and checking the summary, and then testing a value. What I done in that ANN, I done the same thing in RNN. Next we will move on to CNN, conventional neural network. Now we are going to handle the one images value. Okay. Now I am going to handle the images. I having a two folders, training and testing. What I am going to do is I am going to predict a medicinal plant, whether it is Ashoka or else coriander or else curry leaves. I am going to predict that. If in case I give any input image means it need to predict what the type of plant is this. Likewise, I having a two folder, training and testing. Inside that folder I having a more folder like a aloe vera. In that aloe vera folder I having a aloe vera images, like having different types of aloe vera images. Likewise training also same thing I am having. After that I need to pass that data set into my model, and we need to process the data. First I just collect the data set, and after that importing required library packages. These are all the required library packages used for this CNN model. Up to scikit-learn we already know about up to scikit-learn. Now we are using Seaborn. Seaborn is like a data visualization library. It having some analysis library. And matplotlib, comparing to matplotlib, we having in the Seaborn we having more specification. And then cv2 means computer vision. It is a module used to handle that images and videos. TensorFlow, it is like a framework which process all the information in that CNN, like a framework, pre-inbuilt function. We use all the pre-inbuilt function purpose. We using TensorFlow. And these are all the class name we having: aloe vera, ashoka. These are all the class name we having that I mentioned above. And as a image size I am just giving 150 into 150. This was a size. And I just loading my creating one variable called dataset. Inside the dataset I just loading training and testing folder. By using that cv2 I just converted the image into proper format, because some images are oversized, some images are having less size. We just converted into proper format. That purpose I am using cv2 computer vision to make the same color, these and all. And then naming that if in case 0 means what the flower was, what are the specification. Likewise I am naming here, naming the label. And here I am training the images. First I loading the images, and then shuttle the images. Okay, with the pandas library I just importing all the images here. Okay, after that for visualization purpose I am using matplotlib. Now only I am going to apply that CNN algorithm. Up to that I just clean the process and properly format that images, and load that images. Now only I am going to apply that images into my neural network. First I used TensorFlow. After that I just initializing that all the neural networks, and using convert2d. It is a first layer, that means input layer. For input layer I am using 32 nodes in a size of 3,3, and activation function I am using ReLU, relational linear, that already we discussed, and this was the size of an image. And then max pooling 2D, it will split the overlap images. If in case there is an overlap in the background, means it will split that one. And then we move on to next nodes called next nodes with a hidden layer. This was a hidden layer. Hidden layer. And then I am applying max pooling 2D. This will split that flattened layers. That means it will split the overlapped images, and then flatter layer. This will flat all the images and give for an output process. And dense. The purpose of dense is carry forward one information to another nodes. And activation function here I am using 128 nodes, and after that I am using 10 nodes because I having 10 column here. That means 10 folder here, 10 different types of plants here. So I am mentioning 10. What it do means, first it will create a 32 nodes, and after that it will pass the information to another 32 nodes, and then I having 128 nodes. These 32 nodes will pass information to that 128 nodes. As our output layer I am having 10 nodes. It will interconnected to each other. and then in that final 10 nodes having a probability, likewise 0.2, 0.3, 0.10, 0.2, likewise it is having a probability of the probability. In that probability which having more probability, we will choose that as a output. Whether neem having a more probability means different nodes for each folder, whether the neem having more probability means we will choose neem as a output, and then our optimizer will check actual output and predicted output that already we discussed, and then fit the model. We having a training images and a train labels. We just fitting all the input here, and then setting a batch size 128 and set epoch as 30. 30 means it need to read the data state 30 times. For validation I am using 0.2%. That means 20% I use for validation. If in case I pause the input here means it will it will process the data and then predict the output. Okay, these are the process happens in that CNN. Okay, next we move on to generative AI. These are the process happens in CNN that okay. Then we move on to generative AI. In that AI there is a single level of prediction. Based upon the data we will predict the output. That was a process happens in that AI. But here it was a most interesting topic. We just predict a new thing. In the past data it just understand only a data. That can't be able to create a new thing. In this generative AI we will create a new thing, and also we having updation of generative AI also, like agentic AI, swarm intelligence. These are all the updation of generative AI, but generative is a updation of AI. Generative AI is a type of artificial intelligence that uses algorithm and neural networks to create a new content from the existing data that I already discussed before. It mainly uses neural networks. Comparing to algorithms, machine learning algorithms, we only using neural networks here, and majorly we using transformers here. What it will do means it just understand the pattern of the input data and then create a new patterns. Whether I pausing a two fruits, apple and banana, means it just understand the structure and color and size of an apple and banana, and it will try to create a new fruit. That was a generative AI. Whether it is created by AI means that was a generative AI. It will produce various types of content, text, images, audios, synthetic data, and music. This everything. Okay, these are all some examples of generative AI. Nowadays we are using Snapchat and ChatGPT. These are examples of generative AI only. Applying a filters by using OpenCV we will do that, but advanced of filters we need to use that generative AI only. Okay, these generative having two types. One was an text generative AI, another one was an image generative AI. Text generative AI are nothing but used to generate a new text, like a chat GPT. In the chat GPT, what we do, we are not going to expect the same thing. If in case you give any data, means it just understand the schematic information present in the data and then predict a new data. That was happens inside that chat GPT. And image generative means it will try to generate a new image. It just understand all the input images and create a new pattern of that image by understanding that previous image. Okay, for that image generative AI, we will use BAE, variational auto encoders, and GAN. BAE, what the purpose of BAE means, we just understand all the images and create a new image. That means it is used to combine a new image. And GA. Okay. Okay. variational autoencoders. We just used to compress all the input images, and it will try to recreate that images. Compress the image and it will recreate the image. After that, GAN having a two inside having a two types. One was an generative and a discriminative. Generative is used to create a new thing, and the discriminator will check whether the given output and the actual output is same or not. If in case not same means it will return back to you. That was happens inside that generative AI. And also transformers also we having that already I said transformer is a multiprocessing, capable of doing multiple process at the same time. Okay. Next, text generative. The text generative will uses LLM models. That means a large language model. It is a pre-inbuilt one. That means a pre-trained model that can capable of do or process the large amount of data. Okay. Inside that LLM, we having a transform model. Transform means parallel processing. It having encoding and decoding. Here encoding means it will process the input data. Whether you give input data means it just process within that, like filling the missing terms. If in case you search any email now, like how are you, likewise you type in email now, how are you type now, it will try to complete the sentence like a you. That everything happens by using encoding only. After the decoding, what the purpose of decoding means, used to generate a new thing. That was a purpose in decoding. The BERT is a model of encoding and GPT is a model of decoding. What the BERT is to means, you just understand the input data only. Now it is able to generate a new data. And the GPT model is used to generate a new data. And also we having another one model present inside transformer. That was an BERT that can capable of do both encoding and decoding also. It just understand the input data and capable of doing creating a new thing also. That wasn't bad. Okay, now we will see the structure of LLM. Okay, this was an older way. Before, what we use means we just give a input data for a language detection. We just give a input here and then label the output here. Whether here, if in case you ask any input means whether it have present inside the data means it will predict the output. There only happens that keyword matching only happens in this process. But nowadays we just understand the schematic information. Before we will pass a Excel sheet. Now we will pass like a corpus, like a PDF also. That also happens by this generative AI. We just understand the schematic information, not a keyword matching. We just understand the schematic information. For that, we using a 1K or 1M label data. Here we can use a large amount of data. We can pass URL also. That also was also possible. Because we pass a URL means we just understand the data within that URL. That also possible here. Okay. Large language model. It is a machine learning model that aims to predict a generated possible language. Okay, and try to auto complete that all the sentence that I have already discussed. Okay. Next, LLM how it works means it will check the probability of the next word. Whether it give first word means next it will check the probability of next word and then it continues that word. There was a continuous level of prediction. Okay, this LLM model mainly using NLP and then transformer model. Okay, before we want to learn LLM or as a text generative or as a generative AI means first we need to know about natural language processing well, and then we move. We need to know about this LLM model and generative model. These and all everything. There are 3 levels of LLM model. In that, first was prompt engineering. Prompt engineering are nothing but whether you want exact answer means you need to ask an exact question. That was a prompt engineering. That I will explain by structure one by one. Okay, These are the process happens inside that transformer or else in your chat GPT. First you ask any input means that input will split up into chunk by chunk, and then create like a container, whether it is a sports related container, whether it is a politics related. Likewise it will separate the container and then it will move on to the vector database. What the vector database do means it just converted data into that a normal data, chunked data into vectorized format based upon their bird strength. Okay, and then it will convert the data and store in that vector database. As a vector database, we are most commonly using ChromaDB. It is a one type of a vector database. And then information retrieval. For information retrieval, we will use RAG technology, retrieval augmented generation. In that information retrieval, what it can do means it just extract that keyword from that vector database. How it find it was a keyword? Likewise means it will check the word strength like 0. Like a probability only 0.9, 0.6. Likewise it having a probability which having more probability that it consider as a keyword, and then extract the keyword from that vector database, and then it will pass the data into prompt engineering. This prompt engineering having a proper structured question. Some persons don't know how to ask. Some persons don't know how to ask question to the machine. The prompt engineering will place a bridge between that users and that means users and a search engine. It will format that question. If in case you want a proper email means I having a proper question for that email, you just give like I want a leave letter means you just extract a keyword from that input data like leave letter. This wasn't keyword. You just extract a keyword from the input data and then fit it that prompt which we are already having, which already we writing. Nowadays we are recruiters are not selecting or not recruiting specifically for prompt engineering domains. The generative AI, Gen AI developers also can capable of do that prompt engineering. And then we place the keywords into properly formatted prompt, and then it will move on to LLM model. Here we can choose any LLM model like a GPT, BERT, BAT. We can choose any LLM model, and the LLM model is an pre-trained model. It's having all the properties like a pre-inbuilt function. It can capable of doing schematic analysis. That means it just understand the feature information of the text, not the keyword matching schematic information. And then it passed into LLM. LLM try to predict output, and then it passes into the output. This is a process happens inside the ChatGPT model. Okay. Now we will see explanation about each process happens inside that. I already explained everything. I just show you. First, this was an input data. We can give an input data in any format, likewise text, PDF, Word document, CSV file. We can use anything as an input data, and then we can use URL also. And then we passed into a vector database. It will convert the data into vectorized format, and then saved in that ChromaDB. What the vector database do means it just understand the schematic information. Like this is the vectorized format of each word having this like these vectors. These vectors will pass into that RAG system. It having more probability comparing to others, so it will select this as a keyword. This I said it will convert it into vectorized format, and then split up into buckets, whether it is sports related, whether it is politics related, whether it is education related. Likewise it will split up into bucket, and then we will apply RAG system to extract the information, to check the causing similarities, and then we pass the information to that LLM model and predict the output. To connect all this purpose, we need one framework. For that purpose, we all are using LangChain. This is the most popular framework in this Gen AI. long chain which connect all the processor like from input to output. It just process connect all the layers. And for if in case we want to visualize the data means we need one uh, frame we need one Python framework to visualize the data. Moreover we using Streamlit has nothing but Python framework used to display the text into a web page. uh, what the process happens in the Streamlit means it no need of HTML and CSS. We can also use HTML and CSS also. Without HTML and CSS it can capable to create a website. Okay, now I will show one demo for this generative AI model. Okay, this was a chatbot. It can capable of doing processor. That means give a answer without the internet also. This was created by idea of DeepSeek. Okay, we having different models also like GPT, Gemini. Likewise, we having different module. Likewise, DeepSeek also one of the GPT model only. This was a model based on DeepSeek. This will capable of do the. It was one of a chatbot. Basically, it was a chatbot. It can capable of answer all your queries in the offline also. You can ask any queries like a chat GPT. Streamlit run. First, we need to use which framework we are going to use. I am going to use Streamlit, so I am mentioning Streamlit and then going to run this main.py because all the other queries connected with this main.py other module. Run main.py. I can type any messages, but it takes more time compared to any other chatbot. It can capable of do offline also. But if in case I 1 second. If in case I off the Wi-Fi here means I can't able to connect continue this meeting. So that okay, it will take more time comparing to all other. 1 second. It will take more time because the module was 4 GB. So first I will explain this project. Okay, first it will ask information. We need to give a input, and then this vector store. As a vector store, I am using ChromaDB. This ChromaDB will just extract the information and then converted the word into numerical format and then stored in inside that. And chain used to interlink all the lang chain process, and it having that format. That means it having all the prompt. And I am using LLM model as a Llama model. As a inside Llama, I am using Mistral. This Llama is used to run the chatbot in that offline. And this lang chain used to connect all the sources. It will take some minutes to download. Okay, there was an issue in this project where I will show some other project. There is no storage left in my device, so that it happens. Now I will show some Django project. It was not happens in the offline, because here we using only a API key only. Here I am using only a API key, and as a model I am using GPT, and as a model I am using Gemini 1.5 Flash model. Okay, this basically run with the MVT function, model view template. In that model, having all the properties what it need to do, that every process present in that model, and then in that view, which process will need to happen in which time. Likewise, it need to instruct the models in that view, and templates having that all the HTML files. Here I am not using that much of HTML files, only a one file. Here we need to do this. Every model is connected with this URL, app URL, and this app URL is connected with this main URL, and this the main URL is everything connected in this settings.py, and then the settings is connected with this manage.py. So we can run only a manager.py is enough. We just call all the files inside that. Everything will internally connected. So we need to run Python manage.py run server. If in case I run means it will create a localhost for me. Localhost means nothing but it just run in my system only. I can't able to share my hosting address. Here I am giving anything from London, Paris. It is like a trip organizer. Date. And then that I give start planning means it just create a new plans for me. You just understand the previous data, distance between the data, distance between the location and the date of date, everything you just understand, and then create a pamphlet for me. What I need to see on this time, everything it will create a guidance for me. Day 4 what I need to do, day 5 where I need to visit, everything it will generate for me. For transportation, language, food, safety, this everything I mentioned in my prompt also. What it need to perform, likewise everything I mentioned in my prompt. So this everything happens in this. Okay. What it means, first I give some input data. After that, that same process only it will happens here also. I am using Google API. API means nothing but application programming interface. If in case you want to access any external or some other application properties means we will give by using that API. In case I use this API means I have some restriction. This much only I need to use. If in case I use more than this amount means I need to pay amount for them. I am using Google API. What are all the things happens inside Google? I will can able to access that one. Okay, and I mentioned in the routing message as first page, it need to open index.html. I only mention having only one HTML page, so I mentioned here. This was my prompt. Plan detailed trip. This was my prompt, and this was my keyword. Extract from that input data. This was my keywords. And as a model I am using Gemini 1.5 Flash. This was a free model. other than that we need to pay money for them. We having more models, GPT also providing more models, but we need to pay amount for them. And what into response, I mentioned that exception handling. Now we will see some real-time example of AI and generative AI. Okay. In a healthcare, AI plays a vital role. Nowadays, AI can able to do operations also to develop a new drugs. Now we can't able to test with that any humans or that. So we need to develop any new drugs, and then we need to put in any animals. After that only we will use. And for disease diagnosis nowadays AI try to perform surgery also, and then self-driving car, and for a self-driving car generative AI plays a vital role to check the distance between that obstacle and the vehicle, everything. And for using that live tracking and the number plate capturing in the traffic analysis, number plate capturing, this everything happens by using that AI and generative AI only. Virtual assistants are like Siri, Alexa, Google Assistants. These all are use AI only. How it works inside, that means first we need to give any input data. Like means we will ask something, means that speech is converted into word format. Uh, Word format. It having some transmitter in that Google Siri or Alexa, it having some transmitter. You just transmit your input voice text voice data, and then it converted the voice into text format, and after that we will have some process like stemming, lemmatization, tokenization. These are some process happens next to that. There are four process happens next to that. That was first process was sentence tokenization. In that sentence tokenization, we just converted whole sentence into whole paragraph into one sentence, because machine can't understand the whole paragraph. We just identify the meaning of that exact word only. Based upon the word stem, we just understand the meaning of the word only. So as a first process, we need to convert that whole paragraph into sentence by sentence. After that, word tokenization. In that word tokenization, we just converted whole sentence into one by one word. And then was stemming. In that process, we just remove all the stemming words like ing, eng, prefix, suffix. We just remove all the words. And lemmatization. The lemmatization is used to convert that original word. That means used to identify that root word, because we can't be able to give all the word as an input. So it just we just need to convert it into a root word. Now every process happens. First voice was converted into text, and then the text was converted into a root word, and then next process. In that next process was text cleaning. In the text cleaning, we just remove the unmeaningful word and stop words. Likewise, comma, full stop, the is these and all unmeaningful word. So we need to remove all the unmeaningful word and stop words in that data cleaning process. After that, it move on to next process like feature extraction, that we already know, used to convert a word into numerical format, because machine know only words. So in that place we using NLP. In that NLP we having different libraries like many libraries like NLTK, Spacey. Libraries are nothing but it having a pre-inbuilt function. We can use that one. From that NLTK only we going to use that stemming, lemmatization, tokenization, these everything. After that, it can capable of do sentence tokenization. Sorry. Parts of speech splitting, these and all, and then we move on to any other model, any other machine learning model, or else any other transformers. transformers like a GPT model. For a machine learning model, we will use algorithms like a supervised or unsupervised. We can use that one. For a transformers, we will use GPT or else VAE. This everything, any one of these, and then we will apply that into proper format and give us output in a text format, and then text was converted into speech, and then it will return back to you. This will happen like this. And then agriculture monitoring system, understanding that moisture present in that land, everything analyzes by using AI only, because we want to test the soil means we need to do more process as a before. Nowadays it was quite easy. We need to give a sample soil to that AI. AI understand the pH value and water content, everything present in that soil, and then predict the output. And then marketing. Nowadays we are not going to a person to person marketing. I'm going to give my proposal, and they need to accept. It takes more than 1 week. Like it always happens. I need to travel. I need to waste a time for that. It was happens in before. Nowadays the marketing was totally easy. I give a I given a mail address or anything means it will proper that for create a proper email, and then it will send that email to them also. This will also happen in nowadays. Likewise, nowadays in creating a new pamphlet, we are not creating a pamphlet. We give all our queries means likewise I need this was my company name. I originated on this years. Likewise, I give all the input means it just create a pamphlet for me. I'm not going to sit install Canva and then apply all the symbols and then need to create. There is a wastage of time. If in case I given an input means you just create a proper template for a pamphlet for me. And for publishing ads, that ad splitting 18 plus ad. Likewise, ad splitting also happens by using AI only. That was by using agentic AI. What is the difference between AI and agentic AI? Means AI used to identify the data whether it is spam message or not. But this agentic AI will take a decision. We need to allow this message or not. Likewise, it will take a decision. And facial recognition. Facial recognition, whether they are wearing helmet or not. Student attendance system. Here we are using facial recognition. Students are attendance. For student attendance, we are not nowadays. We are all taking in the like a manual attendance only. In the future, we surely we will use this facial recognition and fingerprint analysis, and whether they are wearing helmet or not. That AI camera analysis. These all happens by using a facial recognition. For the facial recognition, we will use OpenCV module. That means OpenCV library. Recommendation system. Now we all are living in that AI environment only. That YouTube, we are all seeing YouTube, Instagram. These and all recommended by AI only. We are not going to choose this video we need to play. You need to this reel you need to play. After that, this reel you need to play. Likewise, we are not going to instruct them. We just understand the user, your data, whether you are liking horror films or else a horror related reels means it will suggest you a horror related reels. Whether you are seeing comedy related means it will suggest you comedy related reel in that feed, in that Instagram feed or YouTube recommendation. Whether you subscribe any YouTube channel means it will give whether they post any YouTube whether they post any video means it will give a video, suggest the video. Then robotics. In that robotic, mainly in the AI means we all are no robot. In the movies also we saw Yendran movie. In that movie we know about that robot. How it need to operate, how it need to perform, how we need to understand the sensor data, everything depend on AI only. In in Chandrayaan, AI plays a vital role. During the Chandrayaan 3 landing, we having some obstacles or some rocks present in downside of the Chandrayaan. That time, the AI check that land and then tilt that satellite and then place in some other places. Likewise happens during landing. There was one obstacle. That time it will tilt and then landed in some other places. If in case it landed here means we lost more than 100 300 crores. Likewise we will loss because of that. Not a crores, a million. Okay, these are all the building blocks of AI. We already discussed machine learning, deep learning, computer vision, natural language processing. Okay. Now we will see one example for each module. Deep learning, we already saw the explanation and working of deep learning, and also we saw the working of generative AI also. Now we will saw some basic information about machine learning. Okay, this is a machine learning backend file. This same thing happens in AI also. Now we will see example of AML. Okay, first we importing all the first we will collect the data. What I am going to do means I just going to apply AI in medical industry. That means I am going to check the anesthesia level, how much we need to give the anesthesia to the patient. I am going to predict that one. For that purpose, I collect all the required data like their name, age, gender, blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen saturation, this everything. After that, we need to process the data. For that purpose, we need some library support like Pandas, NumPy, Matplotlib, Seaborn. So I am importing all the libraries and then created one variable, and then I passed my data with the help of an Pandas library, and then I check the null values. This is considered as a data cleaning. I check all the null values present here or not. There is no null values. If in case null values present here means it will show like 1, 2, likewise it will show. Next, I will check the dummies whether it is present or not. Dummies means repeat items present or not. It will take some process to, it was still running. Okay. After that, I splitting the data set into two parts. One is for testing, another one is for training. For testing purpose, I used 0.2%. Balance I used for a training purpose. For training, I used 540 data. For testing, I used 136 data. There is no null values. So we move on to next process. Next process means we will ready to apply the data set into one algorithm. First, I creating one importing one algorithm in the name of linear regression, and I created one variable and I fitted that algorithm into that variable, and by using a fixed syntax, I imported that 80% of data. Before I split the data, now I fit that 80% of data and then test the values. That means I predict a value and test the accuracy of a model. There was a 0.94. By using a R2 square mean absolute error, we can check the accuracy of an algorithm. Okay, there was it will give us 0.94 something, and then we visualize the data, and then we test a value. If this was an input, I am giving an input and check the output. Like this patient means we need to give 1.2% of anesthesia level. One algorithm is not enough for a project, so at least we need to use 3 algorithms, and then we need to check accuracy of the 3 algorithm and we need to predict the data. Predict the output. After that, I dump the model, dump the algorithm model, first model. Dump means I just load that model into in a compressed format, and importing another one variable in the name of decision tree regressor, create one variable and load the decision tree regressor and fitted the 80% of data, and then that same process I just need to check the accuracy of one model, and then I need to dump the model. And visualize the data. After I using gradient boosting regressor, it was also one of the popular AML model. The same thing, I need to give a input data and I need to predict output, and I need to dump a model and then to check accuracy. Predicted output, I dumped my model. I having a two model. One was a model.pickle and saved model. Now I deploy that model to any other framework. I am using Flask framework. Here I created two folder like static and templates. In the static and templates having the HTML files for a front end purpose, and this static having a CSS used to design that HTML files. And in that app.py, I just connected backend and frontend and creating a website. I connected backend as a pickle format, and then connecting frontend like a routing. In that Flask framework having this properties like render template. So I'm going to use that render template as an initial page. Here I mentioned single slash means I need to open initially. As an initial page, it need to open index.html. In that index.html page, I having one predict button. If in case I click the predict button means what it to happen and which page it need to opens, like everything here I given. First, we need to gather all the information from that input data. After that, we need to convert that input data into array format, because in AML, machine can for our x value is always in 2 dimension only. That means array format only. We need to convert it into array format, and then by using a inbuilt function predict, we will predict the data, and we will store the prediction data into a output variable. After that, it need to open index.html. In that index.html, I need to show my output. If in case I mentioned any curly braces means it is just going to gather information from some other module or some other input data. Now I need to open my terminal. And then here I need to run my file. Before running the file, we need to give what the application APK file I am going to use to run this file. I am going to use Python APK only, so I am mentioning Python here, and app.py. After I given enter means okay, it is also one of the application used to run that AI files. Okay. Once I will check the other module also. Okay, there was a version issue in this project. I am using a current version, but this model is developed in uh, lower version. So I will show some other demo. Here I will check. Here I will check it once. Okay, now I am using Streamlit framework. What? Here I am going to create a new environment and then I am going to run. Here I am going to change the environment with my file location. First I will try with the anesthesia project. I change to my file location and then I am going to run that app.py, python app.py, and I need to require I need to install all the required library packages. First, I am installing pip install numpy. Numpy is used to handle the numerical values. Here, pip means Python install packages. After that, we need to install pandas. Pip install pandas. Wait for 1 minute. And then I am installing Flask. Now I need to uninstall the pandas because pandas was not installed properly. Then we need to install the scikit-learn library. Next we need to run our application. Okay, now it was my web page. Here it will ask some input data to me, likewise elevation meter. Now what I am going to predict means solar energy prediction. In this location, in this temperature, it will use data. It will use energy likewise I having some data set. This was my data set. In this time, in this temperature, in this humidity, it will give this amount of solar production. Likewise, it having giving some data. What I'm going to do means I just give a I'm going to train the model by using this data set. I'm going to predict for a 500 meters, for temperature 25, for humidity 70 to 60, solar radiation 1000, power 30, wind speed 7. Likewise, I given any data means it just understand the past information. In that past, it having some patterns. For this much x value, this was the y value. Likewise, we having some data in the past. By using that past pattern, we will try to predict a new data. For these data, for these x values, and it will generate a 495 kilowatt per hour. Likewise, it will predict the data. Okay, this is a process happens in that AML part. Okay. Okay, this is all about this session. If in case you have any doubts or else any queries means you can contact us. That contact details, everything we will mention in the downside. Okay, thank you.